ever made a choice, one that just completely changed your life.
Oh, absolutely.
But imagine if that choice, had the power to change the fate of, entire nations.
Whoa.
That's the story we're diving into today.
Yeah.
The life of Archduke Franz Ferdinand,
Wow.
a man caught between love and duty,
Right.
His choices,
Yeah.
they had consequences he never could have imagined.
I bet.
We'll be using an episode of the Noble Blood podcast
Oh, cool.
as our guide for this deep dive.
Awesome.
What I find so interesting about Franz Ferdinand's story is that it's not just historical events,
Yeah.
It's about a man facing these real human dilemmas.
Right.
Dilemmas that we all kind of grapple with, even today, I think.
Definitely.
We're going to go way beyond the textbook version of history, though.
Okay, love that.
Explore the personal struggles, the loves, the losses
Yeah.
that shaped this really pivotal figure.
I'm ready.
We'll see how his story, in many ways, mirrors the larger story of Europe in the early 20th century.
It's like a microcosm.
Yeah, a world, on the brink of huge change.
Yeah.
So the setting is Austria-Hungary,
Okay.
late 19th century.
Got it.
This empire that's just steeped in tradition. They're struggling to hold on to power,
Right.
facing rising nationalism and ethnic tensions, all this stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's a world of these opulent palaces and rigid social hierarchies,
Ah, so interesting.
but also a world where the seeds of discontent are kind of being sown,
Right.
And into this world, we have Franz Ferdinand,
Okay.
a young man who kind of unexpectedly becomes heir to the throne
Oh, wow.
after the series of, family tragedies.
I don't know. Yeah.
It was really important to understand the impact of these early losses, I think,
Yeah, I agree.
on his character, on who he became.
Absolutely.
His mom, Princess Maria Annunziata, she died from tuberculosis
Oh, wow.
when he was just a kid.
So sad.
And it left, a profound mark on him.
I can only imagine.
She was terrified of infecting her children.
Oh, my gosh.
So she kept her distance. It's almost like
Uh-huh.
a spectral presence in her own home.
That's just haunting.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
And then there's the Mayerling incident.
What's that?
His cousin Rudolph, the original heir,
Okay.
dies in a murder-suicide with his mistress.
Oh, what?
Huge scandal.
Oh, wow.
Rocked European society to its core.
I can see why.
And it basically thrust Franz Ferdinand into the spotlight,
Yeah.
a role he never really seemed to fully embrace.
I bet.
I mean, he was thrust into the position of heir apparent, but it seems like the emperor, Franz Joseph, his uncle,
Okay.
well, he remained kind of distant,
Interesting.
disapproving,
All right.
You can almost, feel the weight of all those expectations just
Yeah.
pressing down on it.
Crushing. Yeah.
So he found solace in, hunting long walks,
Sounds peaceful.
anything to escape that formality of court life.
I get it.
And it was during one of those escapes that he met Sophie Chotek,
Okay.
this woman who would change his whole life, basically.
Oh, wow.
She was a lady in waiting,
Okay.
well-educated, from a noble family,
Right.
but not considered high enough ranking to marry a Habsburg.
Oh, wow.
And here's where the personal and the political just totally collide.
Yay. I see.
This wasn't some, fling.
Yeah.
Franz Ferdinand was completely in love with Sophie,
Wow.
and he was determined to marry her,
Good for him.
even defying all the conventions of his time.
That's huge.
The court, they were obsessed with lineage.
Lineage.
Yeah, and this rule of 16 quarterings,
What's that?
to be suitable to marry into the Habsburg family,
Yeah.
you had to prove your noble blood went back, generations and generations.
Oh, wow.
And Sophie just didn't meet those requirements.
Oh, no.
It's hard to even imagine today
Yeah.
this obsession with bloodlines.
Crazy.
But for Franz Ferdinand,
Yeah.
it was a matter of principle.
Wow.
He was willing to risk everything for love.
That's amazing.
He even threatened to renounce his claim to the throne
What?
if he couldn't marry her.
Seriously?
It was a total power play, challenging the entire Habsburg dynasty
That's bold.
faced with this potential scandal.
Oh, yeah.
Emperor Franz Joseph, he finally relented,
He did.
but with a cruel twist.
What was it?
He granted permission for a morganatic marriage.
A morganatic marriage.
Yeah.
What's that?
So it meant that Sophie could be his wife,
Okay.
but she'd never be considered his equal.
Oh, no.
And their children, they'd be barred from inheriting the throne.
So unfair.
It was a compromise, but
Yeah.
one that came with a really heavy price.
Definitely.
It was a public humiliation for Sophie.
Oh, I bet.
Just this constant reminder of her lesser status.
So awful.
Even after they married, she had to walk behind other people at court,
No way.
excluded from events, treated like a second-class citizen.
That's terrible.
It's just heartbreaking, you know?
It is.
Can you even imagine?
I can.
Enduring that level of judgment and scrutiny
It's just wrong.
just because of who you loved.
Unbelievable.
But it really speaks volumes about Franz Ferdinand's character.
Yeah.
That he was willing to defy his family,
Absolutely.
jeopardize his
The
future
love.
for Sophie.
Wow.
He genuinely loved her and saw her as his equal, no matter what the court said.
He sounds like a good man.
So we're starting to see Franz Ferdinand as this complex figure.
Yeah.
This man torn between his love for Sophie, his duty to his empire,
Right.
and this growing disillusionment with the traditions of the Habsburg court.
Fascinating.
He was withdrawing from court life more and more,
Really?
spending time with his family at their country estate, Knopischt,
An escape.
away from the court. He could be himself,
I see.
a devoted husband and father,
It's nice to hear that.
finding solace in the simpler things.
Makes sense.
It's this glimpse into a side of Franz Ferdinand
Yeah.
that history often just overlooks.
Right.
The loving husband, the doting father,
Mm-hmm.
the man who enjoyed gardening,
Wow.
spending time with his family.
It's a different picture.
It's a far cry from the image of that stern, unapproachable Archduke. You know,
One we see in textbooks.
exactly.
Yeah.
But this more human side of Franz Ferdinand,
Yeah.
it's crucial to understanding him,
Absolutely.
his actions and motivations.
Definitely.
He wasn't just some power-hungry warmonger
Yeah.
like some people try to portray him as.
I see that.
He was a man of contradictions, a
Mm.
man who saw the storm clouds of war gathering
Really?
and was desperate to find a way to, avoid them.
Wow.
And this brings us to a critical moment.
Okay.
The annexation of Bosnia by Austria-Hungary.
Uh-huh.
This was a move Franz Ferdinand strongly opposed.
He did.
He saw it as a dangerous provocation,
Interesting.
one that could lead to a larger conflict.
Oh, wow.
He really understood the potential for this event
Yeah.
to destabilize the region.
Right.
Inflamed tensions between Austria-Hungary and Serbia,
Wow.
a prediction that would turn out to be, well,
Yeah.
chillingly accurate.
Oh, no.
He argued for diplomacy,
Okay.
a path that might have avoided the bloodshed to come.
That's powerful.
So here we have this man.
Yeah.
He's deeply in love,
Mm-hmm.
challenging the status quo,
Right.
trying to prevent a war
Wow.
that he sees coming.
It's a lot.
It's this potent mix of personal and political drama.
Definitely.
And it's this complex, multifaceted person
Yeah.
who steps onto the world stage,
Okay.
setting the stage for events that would just change the course of history.
I can't wait to hear what happens next. So we were talking about, Franz Ferdinand and his opposition to that whole annexation of Bosnia thing.
Right. He saw it as this powder keg, and man, was he right.
Yeah. And it's wild. He actually predicted this wider European conflict.
Yeah, he even wrote about it, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He sent a memo to the emperor basically warning that, the annexation could start this huge war, engulf the whole continent.
Wow. He really had a grasp on the bigger picture.
He did, yeah. He understood that, Europe's balance of power was fragile.
Right.
All those nationalist tensions bubbling under the surface.
Like a boiling pot about to spill over.
Exactly. And he wasn't a total pacifist or anything.
No.
But he definitely believed in a more, careful approach to things.
Right. Diplomacy over just straight up aggression.
Exactly.
So we have this insightful guy thinking ahead, concerned about his empire, about peace in Europe.
Right.
And then the irony is he becomes the catalyst for the very war he was trying to stop.
It's tragic, really.
Totally. Okay, so this brings us to that fateful trip to Sarajevo.
June 1914.
Right. And just to remind everyone, Bosnia, which had just been annexed, it was a tense place.
Yeah, a lot of Bosnian Serbs, they saw Austria-Hungary as this occupying force.
Right. And there was this growing movement for independence. So sending the heir to the throne to this, volatile region.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it seems like a terrible idea.
Well, you got to remember the thinking at the time. It was supposed to be the show of force.
We're in control here.
Exactly. But yeah, looking back, it was a huge risk. And the security.
Oh, don't even get me started on the security.
It was a mess, totally inadequate.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, there were reports, weren't there?
Yeah.
Suggesting that extremist groups might try to
Yeah, assassinate him. But those warnings were ignored.
I just can't wrap my head around
There
that.
was this sense of, like, complacency.
Arrogance, almost.
Yeah, maybe. They just underestimated how much resentment there was.
Right, and they totally failed to protect him.
It's like they thought their imperial power would just shield them.
Like some kind of magical force field.
Yeah, and it was a deadly miscalculation.
Okay, so paint the picture for us. What happened that day in Sarajevo?
Well, it started with this military parade,
Okay.
then a motorcade through the city.
Oh.
Franz Ferdinand and Sophie, they were in this open-topped car.
Like no protection at all.
Nope. Just a big target moving slowly through these crowded streets.
Filled with people who potentially wanted him dead. It's crazy.
It was a recipe for disaster. And sure enough, as the car goes along, the Apple Quay, this young Bosnian Serb, Nedeljko Obrenović,
Okay.
part of this group called the Black Hand.
Oh, yeah, like a secret society, right?
Exactly. He throws a bomb at the car.
A bomb.
Yep.
Like in broad daylight.
Yep. Chaos everywhere.
Wow.
The bomb bounces off the car's roof, explodes under the vehicle behind them.
Oh my God.
People are injured.
Were Franz Ferdinand and Sophie okay?
Somehow, yeah. Shaken up, obviously,
I bet.
but not hurt. Franz Ferdinand, though, he was furious.
Yeah. Can you blame him?
They say he shouted, "So you welcome your guest with bombs."
Wow. I could only imagine the shock and anger to be targeted like that in front of everyone.
It's amazing they weren't killed instantly. But despite all that, they continued on to the town hall.
Really? After a bombing?
Yeah, there was a reception planned.
So, no changes to the schedule?
Well, there were discussions about canceling everything.
Right.
But Franz Ferdinand, he insisted on visiting the hospital to see the people who were injured in the attack.
Oh, wow. So, even after being targeted, he still wanted to show compassion.
Yeah. A noble gesture, but a fatal one, unfortunately.
Oh, no. What happened?
Well, there was a change in plans, some confusion with the drivers,
Oh,
and the lead car in the motorcade, it took a wrong turn.
a wrong turn. So they're off the planned route.
Exactly, off the route that, probably had some kind of security in place.
Oh, right.
It was a series of mistakes, really.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And wouldn't you know it, that wrong turn took them right past this cafe.
Okay.
And guess who was standing there?
Uh-oh. Don't tell me.
Gavrilo Princip, another one of those Black Hand conspirators.
Yes, this can't be good.
Yep. He sees the Archduke's car stalled in the street. He takes his chance, steps forward, fires 2 shots.
The shots heard round the world.
One bullet hit Franz Ferdinand in the neck, severed his jugular vein.
Oh, my.
The other hit Sophie in the abdomen.
Where are they?
They weren't killed right away.
Okay.
No.
Oh, no.
They lingered for a bit. There are stories that Franz Ferdinand was saying, like, Sophie, don't die, live for our children.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
It is, yeah. Those final moments, thinking only of your loved ones.
Powerful.
They were rushed to the governor's residence, but
It was too late.
yeah, within an hour, they were both gone.
And that's how the world changed forever? It's hard to believe that those 2 shots fired by Gavrilo Principi weren't just the end of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie,
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect, right?
They were the spark that ignited this whole global conflict,
Yeah,
a war that would reshape, like, everything.
Yeah.
It's hard to grasp the magnitude of that,
It is.
What was the immediate reaction? Was it just instant chaos across the world?
It's actually kind of surprising, but not really. There was
that?
shock, obviously,
Yeah.
outrage across Europe.
Yeah.
But a lot of the world leaders, they didn't see it as an immediate cause for war.
Oh, interesting.
There was this period of, like, tense diplomacy,
Yes.
political maneuvering, everyone trying to figure out what was going on,
Right.
determine their next move.
So not a knee-jerk reaction then.
No, a lot happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
You gotta remember, Europe in 1914, it was this, like, web of alliances and rivalries.
Yeah.
This assassination just threw everything into chaos.
Yeah.
You had all these diplomatic efforts going on,
Yeah.
some trying to calm things down,
Right.
others trying to take advantage of the situation.
Oh, yeah.
It was a mess.
Austria-Hungary, though, I mean, they were devastated, right?
Absolutely.
They must have been looking for someone to blame
Oh, yeah. They saw this as their chance to finally deal with Serbia.
because they thought Serbia was behind it all,
They believed Serbia was supporting these nationalist groups.
like the Black Hand.
Exactly, the ones responsible for the killings.
So they just pointed the finger right at Serbia.
Yep. And with Germany backing them up,
Oh, wow.
They issued this ultimatum to Serbia,
Ultimatum.
demanding all these concessions
Okay.
that were meant to be humiliating.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, almost impossible for Serbia to actually meet.
So it sounds like Austria-Hungary was looking for a fight, right?
You could say that.
Using the assassination as an excuse.
It's a common interpretation.
Yeah.
Some historians argue that Austria-Hungary, they felt like they had to respond strongly.
Save face.
Yeah, maintain their credibility.
Right.
Deter any future challenges.
Okay.
Others believe they were intentionally pushing Serbia into a corner,
Oh, wow.
hoping to provoke a war.
To gain more power.
Exactly, to assert their dominance.
So it was a power play.
You could see it that way.
What did Serbia do?
They agreed to most of the demands, but there are a few, the more intrusive ones,
Yeah.
the ones that really infringed on their sovereignty,
Okay.
those they refused.
And Austria-Hungary saw that as a rejection
Oh, yeah.
and declared war.
On July 28th, 1914,
And that was it.
the dominoes started falling.
That chain reaction.
Russia, they were bound by a treaty to Serbia.
Right.
They mobilized their troops to support them.
Okay.
Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary,
Yeah.
declared war on Russia on August 1st.
Wow.
France, allied with Russia,
Mm-hmm.
declared war on Germany on August 3rd.
Oh, man. So fast.
And Britain, they were hesitant at first.
Like,
But then
yeah.
Germany invaded Belgium.
Oh, right. Belgium was neutral.
And that pulled Britain into the conflict.
It's just amazing how quickly it all escalated.
I know, right?
From this one act of violence in Sarajevo
Yeah.
to a full-blown world war in a matter of weeks.
It's a scary thought, how fragile peace really is,
Yeah.
and how these seemingly isolated things can
Mhm.
just spiral out of control.
Yeah, especially with, like, national pride and political ambitions mixed in.
Exactly.
What about Franz Ferdinand and Sophie's kids?
Yeah, it's a sad story.
Their lives must have been just shattered.
They were orphaned, obviously. They lost their titles.
Oh, wow.
Basically became prisoners in their own home during the war.
It's hard to imagine.
It's a reminder that war affects everyone,
Yeah.
Even those far from the fighting.
The ripple effects.
Exactly.
It's easy to get lost in the big historical events, the
Yeah.
battles, the treaties, the politics. But we can't forget
Yeah.
that behind all of it
Yeah.
are real people
Right.
whose lives are changed forever.
Absolutely.
Their story also shows us, though, how strong Franz Ferdinand and Sophie's love was,
Yeah, definitely.
despite everything they went through.
The social pressure, the tragedy.
Their love for each other, for their kids.
It was a constant.
It's really beautiful, in a way.
It is. It shows the power of human connection, that strength of family.
Even when facing the unimaginable.
Absolutely.
So what's Franz Ferdinand's legacy, then?
Good question.
How should we remember him?
I don't know. It's tough. Was he a man who wanted peace, but became a symbol of war?
Historians still debate it.
Yeah.
He was complex, full of contradictions,
Mhm.
ahead of his time in some ways,
Yeah.
but tragically blind in others. But his story is a reminder, right,
Of what?
that history isn't just dates and events.
Mhm.
It's about people,
Yeah.
their choices, loves, losses.
And the consequences.
Exactly.
Well said. Franz Ferdinand's life might have been cut short, but his story still matters,
Totally.
It makes us think about the forces that shape the world
And our choices.
and how they determine our fate.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive,
It has.
full of intrigue, romance, and ultimately tragedy.
Yeah.
We've looked at the personal and the political, the individual and the global.
And hopefully, come away with a better understanding of this moment in history.
I think so. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legacy of Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Until next time, everyone, keep learning, keep asking questions.
But keep exploring history.